Hello everyone. Adedeji. Nice to be. Sorry. It's nice to be here. This is my first time speaking at this community event. I speak at different events. This year has been really busy for me. So hopefully I have one today and then one more next month and then I just want to talk. So today I'll be talking about DevOps, but through FinOps lens. Do we have DevOps engineers here?
Yeah.
And then do we have people that would know about FinOps here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be, because FinOps is quite big, it's very large, but I'll be talking from an engineering perspective, so just go through. Yeah, this is the code for the Slido, in case if you want to ask questions or anything, you can just Slido. And then my agenda today, I'll be talking about what FinOps is not. Let me put it that way, when I speak to engineers, and then we'll define what FinOps is. I like walking around, but there's no, we'll talk about the FinOps framework, but it's not like going in depth, just picking it from an engineering perspective. Talk about cloud evolution. I coined the name for this session, I called it DevFinOps, so we'll see what it means. Talk about pillars of FinOps, talk about some challenges, challenges from an engineering perspective. Being a Microsoft MVP, I'll be talking about some solutions for FinOps. I will tell you what I feel the future of FinOps could be, and then put in my closing thoughts. So as I said, I'm Adedeji Awolesi. I'm a cloud engineer with SSRC president. So do our PAs, AI and stuff like that. I've got like 10 years experience in IT. I won I think it was the last month, the 2024 Global Microsoft Hackathon Challenge, and it was more on a FinOps project too. I've got my blog at adedejiawolesi.com, I've got some stuff there, and then that's my LinkedIn. Those are my badges, that's my hackathon badge and my MVP there. So from an engineering perspective, or talking to engineers, when I ask them, first thing, what do you think FinOps is all about? So first they say FinOps is financial operations. So I'm here to tell you that FinOps is not financial operations at all. From an engineer, when you hear FinOps just feel like finance, they should be about finance, but no, it's not financial operations. The second one is sometimes when you hear FinOps, you think it's all about saving money. Yeah, we just want to save money. FinOps, we just want to know. But it's more about creating like a business value for our cloud resources and infrastructures that we have in the cloud. Are we making maximum use of it? So it's not all about saving money. The saving money aspect is there, but that's not just what FinOps is all about. And again, sometimes people feel like FinOps is a race. Okay, let's introduce FinOps into the organization, save some costs, and that's just it. But no, FinOps is more like it's an iterative process. You just have to keep doing it so that you can achieve your aim. And then the last one, I just added this one to it. People, when they say FinOps, you think about public cloud, okay? Azure, AWS, GCP. But the scope is expanding now. FinOps is now going into on-prem, as we spoke about. Now people are looking for ways in which they can apply FinOps into their on-prem. There's SaaS too coming into place for FinOps too. They was talking about licensing the other time, and that was why they moved. So people too are also looking at SaaS products and licensing. And then so now FinOps the scope has really increased from public cloud. Now there's the on-prem and the SaaS product. So that's what FinOps is now about. So what is now FinOps? So according to the Linux Foundation, the FinOps Foundation, I highlighted some critical words here because these are like the main keys to what FinOps is all about. So it's more about an operational framework. So FinOps is not just a business practice, it's more about a framework that needs to be incorporated into an organization and has to be a cultural practice. And what they mean, or what I mean from what I've implemented, is that FinOps has to be like a top-down approach. You can't just be an engineer and you want to implement FinOps in your organization. It's going to be hard. So it has to be something that comes from the top, from your CIO, CTO, the directors, and be like, yeah, we want to start doing FinOps within the organization. So they empower you from the top down because it's quite hard for you to implement it from the bottom. And then it's all about business which maximizes the business value of the cloud. So our resources are we really, are those resources really, eating what we need them to do? Are we over provisioning, for example? Is this storage or RDSI is talking about? How can we, make sure that it's giving the right business value for example, for the customers, So what are the business value? You need to see that and define that, and then enables timely data-driven decision. Without the data, engineers cannot perform anything. Even people will not be able to adopt FinOps. So there has to be data in their front. And one of the things I've also incorporated within my organization is I push the data to the key stakeholders. Okay, my engineering colleague, you spent 5,000 this week. Is there a way, this is sandbox, and I don't want to stop your innovation or your creativity in creating a product. How can you use, maybe lesser VM size, or how can you use this database which won't cost this much just because, just to find a way to incorporate FinOps. So there has to be data which will also improve financial accountability. So your CIO, your CTOs, the project managers, the product owner, security, they will believe what you are talking about because they can see the real data, the billing, you are exporting everything, and you are showing the data and prices. So that will help in financial accountability. And FinOps, as I said, has to be a collaboration between the engineers, the finance team, and the business team. So just one team can incorporate FinOps. You can't just go find a FinOps engineer or you find a FinOps practitioner and bring them into your organization to implement FinOps without getting this engineering, finance, product team, business team involved so that you'll be able to walk through the FinOps framework. So this now leads to what are the FinOps. Has anybody seen?
So did you explain the cultural practice?
Yeah, so the cultural practice has to be more of top-down approach. It's something that the organization has to imbibe. It has to be a culture within the organization. Everybody has to do FinOps. Do you get what I mean? So when the architects, for example, are designing, they have to have FinOps at the back of their mind. That's what I mean by
so
culture.
what, in terms of mindset change?
Across
the whole organization, what is the main mindset change, like in terms of thinking?
Yeah, in terms of thinking, you can think about any solution we want to develop or any product we want to build. We have to look at the finances first now. It's not just about, doing, for example, with his own, doing a lift and shift, just let's collapse our on-prem, bring the resources to the cloud now. There has to be like a FinOps mindset at the back. How can we re-architect? Okay, if we just want to do a lift and shift, are we re-architecting? Are we doing the designing? Are we, that has to be a cultural practice with everyone. So product managers.
But isn't that what architects are for?
Huh?
But isn't that what the architects are for?
Sometimes architects just want to draw a design and make sure that the solution is scalable or highly available, and sometimes they might not think about FinOps. So it has to be, So looking at this, has anyone seen this framework before? Okay, so let me go. So we've got like the domain and capability. So these are like the 4 domains in which FinOps is broken down within an organization. So you have to like understand your the cloud usage and cost, your business value, your cloud usage cost, manage your FinOps practice, and then we've got some capabilities within it too. And then looking at the core personas now, can you see you've got like the engineering there, you've got like your leadership, which they have to buy into it, you've got the FinOps practitioner, you've got your procurement team, your finance and your program. So these are like the core personas that need to be, if you are building like a FinOps center of excellence, these are the guys that need to be there. And then you can then bring your item guys, your security guys, because sometimes we might want to optimize a part. For example, maybe RDS, let me just use it so that I just lean on that. You might want to reduce the size, and then security might see a bit of it there, but you as a practitioner or as an engineer, you might not really see that. So that's why sometimes you need to bring them into it now. For licensing that is coming into play now, your item service management guys need to come into it too. So apart from that, and then we've got phases. We've got the inform stage. The inform stage is more about visibility into your cloud, understanding your usage and cost, seeing what the costs are, forecasting and stuff like that. Then after that, you go to the optimized stage. That's when you then start taking actions on how we can start making reduction of cost, trying to reduce cost. That comes to the optimization. And then when you go to the operate stage, you start building, like for example, automation, CI/CD, or plan for your next stage, and then you go back to the inform stage. So that's why I said it's not just a one race thing. It has to keep going. So you have different sprints, and then you start, going through these phases. And then different organization has different maturity stage. Some organization are crawl stage. We even have like the pre-crawl. Those are the ones just starting up. We've got the crawl stage, we've got the work stage, we've got the run stage. The run stage is you're really automating almost all these domain and capability. So a company can be, for example, a company can be at the crawl stage in here, but they can be in the run stage in this particular domain. So it doesn't mean like you have to be crawling everything. No, you can just pick different. And then we've got principles, in FinOps too. Like teams, they need to collaborate. It's not just a one-man team. Everyone needs to take ownership of their cloud usage. So I said, for example, they can have like DBAs, they have their own infrastructure. You've got your developers, they have their own infrastructure. So everyone is, cost is being applied there. Everyone has to take ownership. It doesn't have to just go to maybe the manager or stuff like. So we've got like a show back, chat back, which is more of like in-depth into FinOps. Data should be accessible and timely. People need to see the data. People need to then make decisions based on the data they've seen. And then a centralized team has to drive FinOps. FinOps can be driven in silos. There has to be like a center of excellence that has governance around it, and then that drives your FinOps. And then you just need to take advantage of the variable cost model of the cloud. Prices in cloud is very, if it's on-prem, as I said, spend 5 million, but in the cloud, it varies. So you just need to take advantage of that. I think the main question I wanted to ask is because I had this chop talk session at FinOps XE in Barcelona, and I was sitting with engineers and different people, and I asked them like which of these domain and capabilities adds most value, value to them. And from the conversation we had, everyone says like the data reporting and analytics has more value to them, which means that they're able to report on their cloud usage, see the data, and then take actions based on the data too. There's another question that we're having to discussion we're having to is like, what do you think would change in the next 1 year in this framework? Because the more people start adopting it will start changing. And one of the things we spoke about is that all these places where we've got cloud will be taken off, because now, as I said, they'll start using it on-prem, they'll start using it in SaaS product. Even people are now talking about green ops, sustainability and stuff like that. So before you know it, this framework will become outdated in 1 or 2 years. It's not like they will just keep changing it and upgrading. So I just said I should let you know that. So cloud evolution, as explained previously from the start, the DevOps engineers,
You mentioned a lot of business value for money as one of the core principles of FinOps, but how do you define business value for money?
So it depends on what your organization is doing. So let's say, for example, I will use CDL, right? CDL, for example. So as he explained, they have infrastructures that provide insurance, for people. So they might now look at, okay, we make, let's say 1 million, for example. We make 1 million from our customers, and we have like 100,000 on infrastructure cost. So the business value could be like is 10%. So they might now sit down. The engineers might be like, this 100,000 is quite too much. Is there a way we could, try and reduce this cost? Maybe we are over provisioning deep databases, for example. The SQL pools are just too much. The storage, and then try and reduce it. So by that time they are looking at the business value. So maybe they now reduce from 100,000 to like 70,000. So that's 30%, and they're still making the 100,000. So that's the core business value to it. You understand? So yeah, the cloud evolution, the platform teams, for example, the engineers come and then they write the requirement of what they need, and then you've got the procurement team that will then go and buy a data center at the same. So the engineers are like the requesters, and then you wait for the procurement team before they buy the data center, the racks, the software, and then you start, as you explained, it takes loads of years. Spend is static, like your spend is just there. 5 million, as you explained before, that's what we're gonna spend. Is there? There's a long procurement cycle. You just have to wait. Now we've told them what we want. These are how the data center should be. These are the things we need. We just need to wait for them to go out and then go through their procurement procedures and get it to us. And then infrastructure there are usually oversized, because if we are buying 5 million stuff in the data center, it doesn't mean we are going to use, everything. So it's just going to be there. We've paid for it, like they call it capex. We've paid for it and it's just there. Whereas we might just be using just a tiny bit. So it's just usually oversized. But now coming to the cloud world now.
Okay, but I just want to say something. But the reason why infrastructure is purchased and it should be oversized is to cover the potential. You don't buy, your infrastructure just to cover the now. I mean, sure, with the cloud you can be like that. But if you are, for example, on an on-prem model, you always need to be oversized. So that, if things go up and everything, you are covered. So you always have the potential covered.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but it's just still there. What if, we don't still use it? That's still there too. You've already spent the money, capex, but in the cloud, it's more like OPEX, operational expenditure. As you're using it, you are paying for it. And you can still find a way to reduce it, do unit economics, find the business value, than just spending 10 million on a data center and you might use it or not. I'm sure there are 5 million or something that they bought.
Yeah, but on the cloud you keep always paying.
Huh?
Whereas on-prem, you pay is a fixed long-term cost.
Yeah, it's a fixed long-term cost, but in cloud you might not even spend up to that.
And
you might.
application cost. Sorry, you can also get in cloud. There's also something quite similar where you get requirements. For instance, if in Azure, I'm not sure how similar it is, but AWS, you get like long cycle licenses where you get the same
thing
kind of concept.
Yeah.
So on-prem, I think the point is that it's quite flawed in the sense that cloud gives you the ability to, pay as you go, and also provide that static cost if you feel like, So
Yeah,
I think
so
that's the main drive.
So we've got, for example, reserved instances. So if you're going to be using a resource in Azure, for example, for 3-4 years, so you just do reserved instance, they give you 70% of it. Whereas on-prem, that's not possible. You get what I mean? So there are saving plans and other optimization stuff to that.
Adedeji, sorry, just keep questions to the end now, guys, just so he can just keep flowing. Okay, so just otherwise we're going to be here for like hours. So just keep the questions to the end and let Adedeji continue.
That was a question to that, yeah.
Okay, so as you can see now, when it comes to the cloud, the power is just at the end of the engineer. I've seen instances where an engineer on Friday deploys something, there's a bank holiday on Monday, and then it was on Tuesday that we share. Spent almost 10 grand already. Deployed like 4:30, logged out, and so the power is just with the engineers. That's why I feel like engineers really have to be in FinOps. Like you need to engage them. Engineers, and I'm talking from an engineering side, we don't care. I just want to do my job, do my stuff, write my config files, and I don't care. But when you start pushing this data to them and they're seeing, how much they could, I'll still talk about it, but yeah, that's just it. So my coin was FinOps. What does it mean? So what are the pillars of FinOps now? So when they go talk about FinOps, it's just all about 4 things. Just 4 things from my own observation. First is, you want to have like cost transparency. You want to be able to see the cost of your, visibility into all your cloud resources. You want to be able to do like a show back, chat back, unit economics. Just want to see shared ownership, which team is using this resource, that's it. Then the second one is the cost optimization. How then can we start, optimizing most of these resources, right sizing, scaling, for example. What are the quick ways that we can do just to be able to reduce costs? And then the third main part is the forecasting. For an engineer, you might feel like, forecasting is no big deal to me. Your finance guys can deal with that, but it's one of the key things too. And then the governance too, because you have to start now building governance around most of the policies your cost optimization policies, like for example, tagging, want to know the teams that are using what, so that when you want to charge them, your KPIs, how are you automating budgeting and stuff like that. So just like give you like, those are like the 4 key pillars for FinOps too. So in 2003, 2005, there's another survey going on now. Over 3,000 practitioners where, the form is on, that's the link there. You can also do it because they are running in 2005. And they were asking like, what are like the challenges for FinOps practitioners all over the world? And then I brought this up just to see for year 2023 and 2024. You could see that the top challenge for FinOps practitioners is like empowering engineers to take action. So it boils down to, it still all comes down to the engineer. And you can see in 2024, is reducing waste of unused resources. I think I was reading it, the total spend in the cloud, I think it's up to like $240 billion all over the world, and 30% of it is waste. Like people just, unused resources are there and stuff like that. So we could see like practitioners are really finding it hard to get engineers to take actions. And it even happens we meet to a practitioner coming up and say, can you please reduce this side? I've got my stuff to do. I've got tickets, I've got my code to write. I'm writing this PowerShell script. Just delaying that. So just to show that we engineers are also key to FinOps, implementing this. And then, so what could be like the quick wins for engineers? And these are some of the things I've worked on. Automation, start automating most of tagging your resources so that you could really see who is using what and doing start and stop. In my organization, we spend 5,000 on sandboxes like every month, and that's quite too much. Just because I can deploy something now and just leave it there. The way I said an engineer just deploy something, leave it, and then come back on Monday or Tuesday and continue working. Whereas you can, when you are not using it, you can either shut it down or after you finish, you delete it. Or people are not really looking at that. So putting start and stop to some applications too. If your customers are not using it, just shut it down or just keep it on. That would help in reducing cost. And then looking at usage reduction too. How can we reduce some oversight, orphan leaks? I sent an email to our engineers yesterday. We've got loads of orphan leaks, and I'm like, before the end of today, I'm deleting everything off if you don't get back to me. You can just run a script, I'll delete everything off. So, having all those usage reduction and just automating that processes would help too. Then shift led too. This is where you start integrating cost insights into your development process phases too. So when your architects are drawing up design or coming up with architecture, they start putting cost insights into this, looking at the cost of it, and not just building a large, nice architecture that would cost much. Just putting that in the first one. The third part is infrastructure as a code too. When you're writing your script as an engineer, you can start putting cost policies into it. I know you can do that in Terraform too. I think you've got the validation, where you can then start, putting these are the resources I want you guys to use, and then you can also, build policies with Terraform. So if your organization is using an enterprise, it will give you the cost. I saw one at the FinOps XE. Some guys did some hard work with infra cost, where when in their infrastructure as a code, when they're deploying, they built in some AI that will go look into the resource you want to deploy and tell you, give you advice, don't deploy this, you can do. It was just really nice. So it shows that engineers are really, doing a lot of bringing in cost policies into their Terraform or CloudFormation in AWS, what they're using. And then the third part is, continuous cost monitoring too, checking your cost too, like cost alert, anomaly detection, building that into your CI/CD. Previously, this used to take like 45 days for you to know about any anomaly, because, for example, if I deploy something today is the end of the month, it might not come out in this build. It might be after the next build, just like, wow, how come? I worked on a project where we were just building a new solution and then moving some of our stuff from SQL into Azure storage. And working with data, that's why I data engineers. I don't know most of the pipelines they were building, and we spent 200,000 the first month, but we didn't know. And then the next month we've already spent 100 and something thousand before we got the bill. The bill came, and the reason why that happened because we didn't have any anomaly detection in our stuff. And then the boss came up. They didn't pay any of us bonus that year. So what are you guys doing? Well, finally though, it helped us because we were able to build that solution, and now the solution just cost us like $15 or so every month now, and we spent over 350,000 just doing that. And it was just the triggers that the data engineers were doing to be running every 5 minutes, and it was just. And me, I'm just an engineer. I'll build everything for them. The CIC department. I didn't know they had some stuff that. So those kind of stuff. But with this anomaly detection, I will get the alert straight. Like, come on, no, we can't do that. It's gonna cost us. So building that and monitoring the cost too. Having feedback loops too also helps to where you are looking at the data and you are sending it to the engineers to have been pushing it. So we have different dashboards for the product team, we have for the CIOs, so that the leadership, they will, they might not see what the engineers are saying, and we have for the engineers too. So we discuss this every sprint, and we're like, okay, this is the amount to spend, how can we try and optimize and stuff like that. So yeah, having that feedback, this is one key thing for me, which I've started pushing, and I spoke about this too at the FinOps XE in Barcelona too. We need to start incentivizing the engineers too, because the bulk of what comes to us, you come, you knock on everybody's door, you create tickets, yeah, please can you do this, can you put this tag and everything, can you reduce this cost? And I'm doing all that, I'm saving the company, let's say, in this last quarter now, I've saved maybe like $1.something million for the company, and you're not giving me anything in return, no recognition. So we need to start, if I'm saying, even if it's my manager or the CIO even send an email, yeah, I can see you're doing great work. Just start putting that into place. One of the things I'm also working with practitioners is they need to start giving the engineers $200 voucher. If anything that you feel like they've saved this amount of cost, just appreciate them. Or even if it's getting other engineers to take off some of the workload. Okay, if you save this 100,000, we'll make sure we employ someone next year. You need to start, but that's something that I've started preaching so that we engineers can start smiling too when we're saving. So what are the Microsoft solutions for FinOps? This was one of the projects that we won with the hackathon. So we're trying to build a platform which I'll also show, where you can see all the Microsoft solutions which would help you to implement FinOps. So we've got the carbon and cost management with the pricing calculator, for example. We've got Azure Migrate if you want to migrate. I don't use AWS, but it was explained the AWS one previously. For Azure, it's Azure Migrate. So if you want to migrate from your on-prem to your, I need to show you the cost. We've got the cost management, we've got Advisor, and then the carbon optimization too. If you want to manage your resources too, you can also use the monitor to look at your resources and feel, okay, this CPU, for example, or this storage, we are not even using up to like 40%. So why are we deploying this much? We'll be able to optimize there. You can start building policies, using resource graphs to write Q queries to be able to look into your resource, then start building automation or logic apps to help you do some stuff. And there are lots of FinOps resources too. We've got like FinOps ebook and guide. We've got the learning part, which I will show. We've got the FinOps assessment. So if you're a new company that wants to start doing FinOps, there's like a Microsoft FinOps assessment in which you can use, and FinOps services too. And then the FinOps toolkit too. Well, we're building up like a FinOps hub. Then Power BI is there because all this, your data, you have to still push it through to Power BI. We've got the FinOps workbook, which has got loads of different queries which you can run on your subscription or on your tenant. And then we've got the optimization engine too. And for self-serve analytics, we've got Fabric. Fabric is one of, I don't know, have anyone used Microsoft Fabric? Yeah, I saw some good stuff. Oh, you've used it, yeah. Fabric is going to be one of the big things coming, Microsoft Fabric. And then cloud for sustainability, when people are now talking about green up, sustainable, world energy efficiency and stuff like that. And then Copilot coming up on it again, and then Power Automate Teams. So those are the Microsoft solutions for FinOps. And then let me just show you some of the. So we've got this FinOps toolkit which we've built. So it's got almost everything that you want, if you want to, what is FinOps here, conduct, and I can send the link out, if you want to conduct like an iteration, you can read through it. Got the FinOps framework here, if you want to read more and understand, we've got our FinOps hub here, where you can just deploy it automatically into your, if you want to deploy it straight into your tenants, just deploy it straight, and then it does most of all the stuff for you. We've got loads of the optimization engine. We've got if you want to customize your reporting and stuff like that, everything is just in there. And this was really it was what gave us that this was the project we did we won the hackathon. And then I've got the FinOps blog, which is being run by Michael Franklin. He's in America. He's the head of the FinOps in Microsoft. So you can. It's a blog. If you want to know more stuff, you can come to the blog here and then read about it. Managing OpenAI cost and stuff like that. And then we've got the FinOps documentation too, which if you want to read about, you can come and then go through the learning challenge and then just read more about. So those are more of like the FinOps, Microsoft FinOps stuff. At least I've done my done my stuff. Yeah. So what's the future for FinOps for me? So I think the future will be number one, the FinOps for AI. Everybody's talking about AI now, so we have to start looking at what is FinOps for AI versus AI for FinOps. So FinOps for AI is how, now that companies are adopting AI, how would they then put FinOps on top of it, to be able to monitor it. Most companies are just buying AI licenses for for everyone in the organization. Do they really need it? Is it not just for maybe the engineers or stuff like that, just to be able to bring FinOps and reduce cost? And now talking about AI for FinOps, so what AI tools would you bring in to help you with all these FinOps processes to focus to? Has anyone heard of Focus? Okay. So Focus, the second version 1 came out today. So Focus came to play because AWS has got their own billing way, Azure has their own billing way, Google has their own billing way. So if you've got Alibaba has their own billing way. So if you've got a company that do like multi like an hybrid stuff, you have AWS, and when the billing comes, it comes in different formats. So sometimes it's hard for the practitioners to understand. So what the FinOps Foundation has done, they've built up like a focus data set where all the main cloud providers have jumped into too, and then everyone now produces the same billing the same way. So with the use of this Focus, so as a FinOps practitioner, you just get one. You can then create dashboards now. You don't need to have like AWS dashboard or Azure dashboard or GCP. You just have one dashboard. All the data are coming the same way. You can get your data engineers to do all your stuff. The data works on it, and then you can present everything in one dashboard. The version, the 0.5 came out in San Diego, and then the version 1 was launched in Barcelona. I think you should go have a look at it. So Focus will be one of a big thing now, because everybody will start understanding what the Focus data sets are, and then or even vendors now are now plugging into SaaS products and stuff. They're now bringing out their billing in Focus with. Then another thing is standardization of best practice. I just feel like FinOps will then become a thing where if you've got most of the certification and you've adopted it, will just be the same way as you've got like ACCA, CCNA, all those kind of stuff, and you just say, oh, FinOps. There will be like best practices with FinOps too. And then the growth in scope too, as I explained, is now more than the public space, public cloud now, on-prem, the SaaS is coming in, and then there will be different scopes that will come into play too. And then sustainability too. Companies are now looking at energy efficiency. Country laws are now affecting data centers. So even with AWS and Azure too, some data centers are more energy efficient than the others now. If you deploy your resources here, you pay a different amount than this one. So if your company is more of like energy or sustainable focused, now they might be like, okay, don't deploy here, deploy where is the energy efficiency is there. So that would also be one of the big things that will come into play. So yeah, my closing thought is FinOps is not just like cost cutting that everyone is talking about. It's more about creating like a sustainable innovations from the engineer's perspective, and then when you integrate FinOps into your DevOps, you empower the teams to be able to balance speed, quality, and cost, because that's like the main thing to that happens. PMOs, for example, I've got some project managers that just come to me, Ade, can you just deploy this, just deploy, and I'm like, as you gone through like our FinOps framework and stuff, just do it for me, I just want to tick the box, So sometimes we just compare speed, cost, this triangle, but when we start integrating FinOps into the DevOps pipeline, to start, help us with balancing the speed, quality, and cost. And then I just feel like there will be a time in the world where all engineers will become, FinOps practitioners, will be speaking the same language, will be saying the same thing. Practitioners will understand, because guys from the finance, for example, we don't speak the same language. They might want you to do something. So when everybody, jump on this FinOps and get, be FinOps practitioner, everybody will be speaking the same language. I hope it does make sense. And yeah, so I think the prioritization comes up when you are doing your FinOps sprint, when all the teams are come together to discuss. So, because from a project or product side, their priority might be different from an engineer. So the engineer will look at the effort and will be like, no, this is not, we can do this the next sprint. So the priority, everybody has to come together, the collaboration has to be, and then we'll discuss that. Someone cannot just say this is the priority, no, it has to be a collective work.
Yeah, thank you. You also mentioned about situations where you have to, your governance, where you have to, okay, you need to shut down the server in 24 hours when you go. As a SRE and it's a gospel of toiling, removing toiling, where, what about using cron jobs? Like, yeah, you can tell an engineer 24 hours shutdown. What about you, who's going to run the script to shut down? If something happens to you, maybe you have an emergency that runs the script. What about using cron jobs, automation, so everything goes strict governance, 24 hours, the script goes, runs it.
Yeah, so when I'm talking about the scripting, they are all automation, so it's not something that I think can do. So in Azure, we've got like the automation where you create a run books. So the run books do the job. I write my script here and say, okay, at this time, 7 o'clock, shut everything down. And it does it, I'm there or not, it shuts everything down.
So, apologies everyone, we'll ask some more management and enterprise architecture questions. So, a lot of the FinOps stuff is more at the engineering level of simplifying cost. But cost isn't just a linear single dimension, there's more to it. So there's total cost of ownership, there's like PMO type costs, there's people costs. So I could spend an infinite amount of time as an engineer to minimise cost, but like automation, I'm probably spending more time and effort into doing that than I am the total cost. So how does that factor in into the whole thing, especially when another dimension that we look at from a senior leadership side is around budgeting, and we separate CapEx from OpEx, and we also have some more long-term kind of visions from an enterprise architecture side. So how does all that kind of encapsulate into it? Because a lot of the FinOps stuff is very much at the engineering level. The middle layer is very hazy, and as all kind of DevOps and architects will say, is it depends. So what does it depend on?
Yeah, so for example, it depends. Number one, depending on the optimization process. For example, any optimization that we've built or that have been done, you can just automate it or build a policy around it, so you don't need to go there again. So that's of the way. Then when we talk about cost too, sometimes if the engineers, like maybe the engineering manager is within that FinOps CCOE, for example, they will be able to look at, discuss, the effort, the engineering effort with what the finance or the architect is talking about. So that's where you then define the cost. Sometimes to you, you might feel like right size. Okay, I'll give you an example. To the FinOps, our DTUs for SQL base, we set it at 150. And then they were like, no, they've done like a visibility, and every customer, they don't even use up to 50. Let's reduce it. And then we agreed that we reduced it to 50, which saved the company 15 grand times, and we've got like 200 customers. So 15 times 200, it was a